Hey, I want to welcome everyone on. Thanks for joining. We're going to go ahead and get started here. So this is a virtual party, and I want to just tell you about a candidate for governor that I really, really like and support and believe in, and believe that he needs to be our next governor of Oregon. And I just want to talk a minute about why I'm doing this, because it's really the hour that we're living in is so important. We have a historic election coming up. It's April 19th when I'm recording this video. And in less than a week, we have ballots being mailed for primary elections, and many, many candidates running in the primary election, especially on the Republican Party side. And this is a time where Oregonians and many other states, but especially in Oregon, as a resident, we felt our freedoms incredibly attacked over the last 2 years. There has been such subversion. There have been so many things passed without public knowledge, without public input, quietly under the table. We've been told to stay in our homes and wear masks and all sorts of stuff. And it's woken us up to what's really going on. Parents have gotten to see what their children are actually being taught in schools, and they're not liking it. But increasingly, we have, I don't want to say it's a party thing, but we do have one party aligning itself with things that are moving us toward slavery, enslavement. And I'm sorry, social programs are enslavement and all that kind of thing. So we have another party and other parties who are saying, no, it is time for us to think about freedom. So I don't want to make this a party thing, but the reality is that we're caught in the middle of a war between freedom and slavery. It's a spiritual battle, in my opinion, but it's a real war that's going on. And we need leaders who will stand up and recognize what is going on. We need leaders who will say, pray for me. We need leaders who will say, I will not bow down to your demands to enslave the people. I'm going to fight for the people. I am here to serve. And Marc Thielman is one of those leaders. And it is incredibly important that with a primary election coming up, we help get Marc through that primary election and then help him get elected in November in Oregon. So that's why I'm doing this. And I discovered Marc back in February. I was introduced to him and really was amazed by what I heard. When you hear Marc speak, when I heard Marc speak, and I've heard him speak a number of times now, I've met him a number of times now, he doesn't talk like many of the other candidates. He really stands apart. I hear leadership, I hear authority, I hear assertiveness. We need a guy who's not afraid to pick a fight where a fight needs to be picked. And I think Marc is that guy. We also need a guy who's able to defend his views in love, but in truth, and win. And he has a track record of doing that, not just for the past 2 years, but for a long time before that. He's very focused on family, on education, and on the economy. He does have incredibly, I think, relevant and brilliant views about things like environment and such as well. And he's a man who has been fighting for Oregonians and been thrown into the lion's den, if you will, a number of times, even over the past 2 years, where he's really come out in the spotlight, running the Alsea School District as superintendent. And he is the one who said, no, we're not going to keep our children in masks any longer. It's hurting them. He's the one who fought against ungodly mandates being pushed upon teachers and upon parents and upon students, and stood up and spoke in his mind and led from the place of his beliefs. And he's won. He has actually been successful. When he's put under scrutiny, he comes out looking better. And he's a good man at heart. He just wants to serve the people of Oregon. and see Oregon turned around. So I think he's got it what it takes to do this. There's a lot of good people out there, a lot of good people running. I think Marc has what it takes. That is why, in a nutshell, I really like Marc. Now, rather than me telling you about his policies, I want to tell you really, I want to just give you an overview of how I think about policies and freedom and making a choice when it comes to candidates, and let Marc tell you himself about some of his policies. We don't have time to listen to all of Marc's policy stances or anything. What I've tried to do is take 2 videos. One of them I built myself because it's a speech I actually helped film, and I was there when he was speaking and helping film, and another one that his campaign team has put together. And I'm going to show you those 2 videos. So the one, his campaign team has chosen some really good extracts, and on the other one, I've chosen what I think were really good highlights from this one speech. But there's lots of other media out there where you can hear Marc speak for yourself, and I encourage you to watch that. I will give you links to that after we play the videos here. Let me first just talk to you really quickly about how I think about freedoms. So let me pull up the screen here. I'm going to share the screen. Okay, so when, oh, by the way, this is going to be over pretty soon. We're going to do about 15 minutes of videos, and then about 5 minutes for close, and then we'll open up for Q&A after that. So this isn't going to keep you a long time. This is aimed to be under 40 minutes. But when I think of freedoms, I really struggled when I put this together to say, well, how do I think about freedoms? Because I've never written it like this before, in the context of I'm evaluating a candidate, not just from a Christian Jesus-loving perspective, which I am, but from a general overall, what's good perspective that even non-followers, people who don't follow Jesus would agree with. Like, what does freedom look like? And I came up with these basically 7 categories of freedom: freedom of life and faith, family, speech, government, civil life, and economy. And there's a lot of, most of what we talk about and have contention about falls into these buckets of freedom, if you will. And so what I've tried to do is, this isn't a comprehensive list. This is just what came to mind and what I've seen Marc talking about and what I think a lot about. And so I looked at Marc's policy, his written policies on his website, his policy focuses. And so, well, how does it compare to these freedoms? And in his written policy focuses, and what I've heard him speak about as well, just in the last few days, cover almost all of this. And so everything bold here in bold font now is what I found. Well, Marc's talking about these things in his written policy focus. I'm not even covering all the interviews, all the places he's come out and given true ideas and strategies for how he's going to do what he wants to do, and all the other stuff that goes along with it, like censorship. Marc has been censored. Marc has been under the fire. Marc is not pro-censorship at all, even though it's not highlighted here. It's just not one of his focus areas for governor of Oregon, according to his written campaign. But I do think he is focused on that. And he is going to fight to make sure that we have freedom of speech and aren't censored. So with that, I just want to leave you with this idea of we're either moving towards slavery or we're moving toward freedom. It's not one or the other. These are 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. Which one are we moving toward? We've been quickly moving toward slavery for the last 2 years. And even before that, we didn't realize it. God just woke us up to it, and I'm grateful for that. So we need to turn and move towards freedom. We really need to turn. What does that look like? This helps me to think about what that looks like. So now I'm going to share a quick video of Marc, two videos actually of Marc. I'll share one and then I'll switch to the other one. And this is going to let you hear a little bit about what Marc thinks. It's not an exhaustive list, of course, but it's going to give you an idea of who is Marc Thielman and why do I like him.
Marc Thielman sent a letter to the district's family saying the COVID ride just keeps on rolling.
The superintendent of an Oregon school district is fighting back tonight.
Mr. Thielman has kept his schools open throughout the entire crisis.
I can't think of anybody else that would have opened. That speaks volume.
Marc Thielman, superintendent of the Alcia School District and candidate for governor.
If there's hope for Oregon, Marc Thielman's it.
This is America, and some things have to be allowed even if we don't agree with them.
Government exists to serve the people, and the Constitution exists to limit the government. I'm not a normal candidate. This fight is so critical. We are talking about liberty, allowing people to decide what goes into their bodies. I'm going to fight like hell, and I'm going to serve each and every one of you.
Protracted state of emergency is having devastating effects on society.
I was thinking about self-harm and suicide.
Marc Thielman really, truly cares about everyone he comes in contact with. He's fighting for our district. He's fighting for these kids. He's fighting for these families. And he's fighting for the state to be the best it can be. You don't get that anymore. You know, it's oh, I gotta look good for this person or I gotta look good for that person. And that's not how he is. He does what's right, no matter what.
Right here is a nice letter from Governor Brown. She writes, I'm aware of one district leader who has sent a letter to parents urging them to request an accommodation for their child under the Americans with Disability Act. And Amy, you talked about the bullying and the dismissing.
The governor also calls out the superintendent of the Alcia School District.
She wrote, I find it deeply appalling that any education leader
who is supposed to be setting an example for our students would send a communication so callous and offensive to Oregon parents and children with disabilities. I am one of those parents. This is my highly impacted, highly special needs daughter, Molly, who Governor Brown's mandate last year completely abandoned. The bullying has not stopped. They're focusing on the wrong thing. They should be focused on connections to kids and families. The mission of what government exists to do, and that is to serve the people, not control them. I've already been inquired of because they can't figure out why we've had adult cases in the building and not massive student spread like everyone else. You want to know why? Because we apply real science.
Closing schools, closing down friendships, gatekeeping being a child has hurt so many teenagers. I was thinking about self-harm and suicide. Well, Marc, he's done things for me. He has done things for so many countless other teenagers. He's opened up a school when the Oregon government said, no, you will not.
His story is a product of the things that can be accomplished when a school system is oriented towards serving the people and not asking the people to serve it.
He has this calling to do the right thing, to take care of people, to protect, to serve. He is the most compassionate and courageous man that I've ever met. He supports all people from all walks of life.
I got to help pack up a young student's desk yesterday because they've already pulled their kid because they feel personally attacked by the threat of this immunization issue. But the worst is, as superintendent in a small community, I get to say to some of Terry's grandchildren, you get to come to school. But I get to say to others, you don't get to come to school. This is asinine. I'm here to serve students. I take all students, documented, undocumented, and the like, and I don't ask for their health records when they come through the door.
This issue with the COVID pandemic and the government overreach shows you just how disconnected people like Governor Brown are from everyday hardworking Oregonians.
The truth comes out, and the truth usually comes down to a pattern of behavior over time. And when we look at a pattern of behavior over time, when it comes to Marc Thielman, he doesn't go into survival mode. He goes into the mode of, how are we going to be successful? How are we going to make this a win for everybody? Because he's always got that higher order thinking that comes with the high executive functioning that makes him just be able to do these kind of things that we're doing right now. I can't think of anybody else that would have opened under the circumstances here in Alsea other than Marc Thielman. That speaks volumes to his ability to work through policy, help create policy, help guide policy, help implement policy, and see it through. It's not win or lose with Marc. It's win and win.
I want to be a governor that represents all Oregonians, and I have the track record to follow through with that. I did some legislative work and was in the newspaper a lot, and I just worked hard to pass all these laws: open enrollment, school choice, allowing public school districts to be innovative and do creative things. In other words, fewer restrictions for public schools. Why would I put myself out to run for governor when I'm having so much fun and success working with kids? Because this crap has to stop. And the best position to stop it is the governor's office. I decided I wanted to run for governor just a hair shy of 2 years ago, really after the previous legislative session, watching dysfunction between both parties, and then the passage of multiple new laws that were extremely divisive out in the general populace in Oregon, either between urban and rural, between rich and poor, and a variety of other things. The amount of division is just unprecedented, and it's totally preventable. This fight is so critical. We are talking about liberty. If we had chosen liberty, allowing people to decide what goes into their bodies without pressure, we wouldn't be dividing ourselves between vaccinated and unvaccinated. You are being lied to. I choose the truth. I'm not going to lie to myself, to my kids, to my family, to the people I care about. I cannot do it. Don't ask me to do it because I won't. I'm not a normal candidate. I'm a school superintendent, and I know how to fight and win, and I'm going to fight like hell, and I'm going to serve each and every one of you. You will see results. I wish the whole of Oregon, the people of Oregon, could see just how entrenched and how resistant our government was to supporting our kids and families. And so enough's enough.
It doesn't matter if you have different opinions than he does. He will love you, support you. At the end of the day, he's one of the very few people that I would want in my foxhole.
When it comes to Marc Thielman as a superintendent, advocating for kids, doing what's right for kids, and working and mentoring other people, that's why I'm here. That's why I love working in Alsea. I love working for Marc Thielman.
What he has done for this community is more than words could say.
Some might call him a hero.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I hope that video gives you a really good idea of who Marc is, but there's more I want you to hear. That was clips. I've got some interview, not really interview, more speech style content I'm going to play in this next video that lets you hear a little bit of glimpse into his own life. And after hearing that first video, I want to challenge you. Does Marc sound like the others you've heard that say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, I'm going to make your life better? Or does he sound different? To me, he sounds different. He sounds like a guy who's already done stuff because he was just serving those he was in a position to serve. And he then decided, I need to step up and offer myself to serve all the people of Oregon and lead us back to freedom. And I think that's powerful. I think he's not a man who is afraid to fight. And I think he's shown that. And what we've been up against the last 2 years, and even before, we just didn't know it, is an enemy. And I'm not talking people. We're to love people. But there's an ideology, there's a real spiritual enemy and ideology that we are up against. And it does not understand weakness. It understands strength. It is time we elect strength. And as for me, I will not bow down to it. And I hope you won't either. And it's time that we start being loud, in love, and strong. And Marc can help lead us in that, I believe. So with that said, let me show you this next video that's going to give you a little bit more glimpse into his own life and some other aspects of what he thinks and how he works.
And that's when I realized we have a government that is deliberately working against we, the people. Okay? It's a wheel that gets going. It's built on relationship. And that's, relationship is on the spindle of leadership. It's a decision that gets made to create. Now imagine if we had a government right here in Oregon that was built on that same concept. The concept of we, the government, are here to serve the people. Now, wouldn't that be nice? I mean, imagine it, because we don't have that right now. What we have now is a government that says, we'll tell you what is safe. We'll tell you what to put in your body. We'll tell you what to believe. We'll tell you what's essential. Did you know they closed our churches? You guys remember that? Are they insane? Yeah. They told us we couldn't sing. I was in a position where I was ahead of the curve, not because I wanted to be, but because I had a mission and because I wanted to maintain the relationship and the confidence with the families that we serve, and that's leadership. Imagine if we had a governor who led like that. What would have happened? Think about that. Okay? I'm running for governor to put myself in a position to change the direction of our state government back to serving you, the people, back to supporting our churches, supporting our families. Think about that. Supporting our churches, supporting our families, supporting our parents and grandparents, wanting an economy in which children can grow up and buy a house near mom and dad, and kids can grow up having mom or grandma and grandpa in their life. Do you know that's an increasingly rare phenomenon in Oregon's current economy? So I'm in a situation where my own, my own daughter is getting ready to move to Texas because that's where the opportunity is. And it breaks my heart because I can't tell her to not go. She's a young lady. She's a grown adult. And she was offered multiple jobs just because she, inquired in Texas. That doesn't happen here in Oregon. And in Texas, she can afford to buy a house with a little piece of land and have her horse. How much does that cost here? Yeah, it's incredible. And the thing is, it's government-created expense. It's a government-created problem here in Oregon. But we have a government that is trying to be kind and soft on crime and criminals and is being incredibly hard on law-abiding citizens. Can somebody explain that to me? Now think about that. Okay, we have a governor who is being historic. Okay, now think about this. Historic. Why? I'm going to let all these criminals out of jail, murderers out of jail early. Clemency, right? While I continue to try to keep children in masks in school all year. This happened just a few weeks ago. You remember that? It's the power of one. But imagine if there wasn't just one, there was all of us stepping up, supporting each other, and being bold about what matters. Okay? Our businesses matter, right? Good schooling, not indoctrination. That matters. Supporting our moms and dads, building an economy that allows our children to stay here in Oregon and build on the legacy of Oregon. This is a wonderful state. If we do our job right, and I am your governor, my goal is to build an economy in Oregon that everyone will be proud to move back to be a part of. Coming home to Oregon. So jobs and workers will come here, come back here. And it's so critical that we do that because multi-generational families are critical, okay, critical to our American culture. Doesn't matter what walk, creed, color, all of us understand family. All of us value our community. All of us identify as Oregonians. It's a very powerful thing. And what do we have is we have a government that wants to divide us by vaxxed and unvaxxed, by race, by gender.
right? By sexual identity. It's insane. Now, this is the most powerful piece. If we really want unity, we do things called, just like we did in LC. Notice we didn't ban masks, right? We didn't say, you know, everybody has to wear a mask, or now nobody can wear a mask. What did we say? We trust you, the individual parent, the individual student, to know your health, know your indices, know your risks, and to decide whether you want to wear a mask or not. And if you want to wear a mask, we're going to support you. And if you don't want to wear a mask, we're going to support you. And if you can't afford a mask and you want one, we're going to provide you one. And you know what we had? We had a few people still wearing masks. We had most people not wearing masks, and there was no issue. It's called unity. It's what we need. So imagine that, unity. It's so powerful, see? That common experience that we have as human beings, and it's the job of our government to emulate that and support us in that. And what we have now is the opposite of that. Did you guys know that Oregon is the highest comprehensive tax state in the union per capita? We pay the highest tax rate per capita. Why? Because we have all these little taxes. You would think California is, but that's not the case. But we only have 4.3 million people, and we're paying tremendous amounts in taxes. We pay so much in taxes that this government had 2.5 or 2.4 billion extra dollars this last February for them to add into the budget to spend, rather than giving that back to who? Now, have you guys noticed we got a lot of inflation? Prices are going through the roof. Raise your hand if you could have used that tax break. Yeah, look at all the hands come up. I hope Governor Brown's watching this, because Governor Brown, I'm coming, okay? And I want her to know that.
I hope those two videos gave you a really good initial idea of who Marc is. I'm going to show you links where you can go hear more. But first, I want to take just a quick show of hands. Give me some feedback. How many of y'all are ready to vote for Marc now, based on what you've heard? Awesome, awesome. I'm so encouraged. Praise God. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Okay, now, can I ask for some volunteers, at least 2 or 3 of you, to do what I'm doing now? To go out and tell your friends, to get them online and tell your friends and show them videos and that kind of thing. Can I ask for 2 or 3 of you to do that? Now, I will help you do that. I will help you do your first 1 or 2. That's okay. I'll help you do that. I'll help equip and enable you. A show of hands. Awesome, a couple. Okay, this is awesome. This is what we all need to do. We have no right to complain if we stay silent and do nothing. I'm sorry, it's just the way it works. We do live in a society that still has some freedom, and we need to preserve that and take back the freedom we've honestly given up by being silent. We gotta return towards freedom. And if we continue being silent, we can't. So join me in being loud, in love, being vocal, being opinionated, and honoring those around us, but not cowering, not accepting ungodly beliefs and values, standing for what is right, in supporting candidates who will do the same. Let's elect a strong governor. Marc Thielman's a guy. Please join me in supporting him. Thanks. Now, before we head into QA, let me share with you a couple of really helpful links. Okay, here on the screen right now, you can use your phone if you're not watching on your phone, of course, but you can use your phone or come back to this later and put in these QR codes. I can also paste them into the chat if that's helpful during the Q&A. But you can scan these QR codes, and the first one on the left is the video that you saw first. That's the one that Marc's campaign team put together. It's linked from his own media page as well. It's on his YouTube channel. That's the first QR code and URL. The one in the middle is one of the best interviews I've heard of Marc to date. And it just came out recently, like last week, early April. And it is incredible. It's Cheryl Thomas interviewed Marc on her God Encounters program. And he goes into environment, he goes into all sorts of things. And it's just a casual sit down interview style thing. You know, when you hear clips of, you know, giving you a view of who Marc is, he doesn't have time to go into all the details of how he's going to do it, what his thoughts and plans are. I hope you heard a little bit of how he thinks in the 2 videos I showed you, but he thinks about this stuff and he figures out like what the real problem is and how we need to change to resolve the problem and actually be better. And so you get to hear that come out in this interview. It's really great. It's about an hour long, I think just under an hour. So I encourage you to go listen to that. You can also check out his official media page. So that's the link on the upper right, video testimonials there. And then his general media page, which has links to audio and print and stuff like that, is the QR code on the bottom right. Okay, so those are media links. Hopefully you've had time to get them. I want to credit Be the Vessel Now, my friend Sean's ministry, with the second video. I extracted those components from her video, which is available on Facebook and YouTube. Check out her ministry, the QR code here on the screen. Okay, before we head into Q&A, I want to reiterate how important it is that we take action right now, how you go tell your friends now. So to vote in the Republican primary, only one person will get through that primary, and it's in less than 1 month. Only one person will. We want it to be Marc. We need it to be Marc. So it is so important that you and I go spread the word about Marc. Now, only people Republican registered or affiliated with the Republican Party as of 1 week from now. So April 26th is the cutoff date of 2022. Only they'll be able to actually vote in the primary. So it doesn't matter if you're registered or affiliated Democrat or Libertarian or whatever, you're not affiliated, you won't be able to vote in the primary. You just won't, unless right now, before April 26th, you go onto My Votes and choose your affiliation. You can do it in a matter of minutes. You can switch to Republican and be able to vote in the Republican primary. And if you want to change it again, change it back after that, then do that. I encourage you to always have an affiliation because it helps bring accountability. You don't have to vote according to party lines. I don't vote according to party lines. I look at platform. It's what I showed you earlier, those 7 freedoms. I look at what do you stand for? And there are some good people on both sides, but in general, the party lines are lining up more towards what I believe, or towards or against what I believe right now. And it's a little more clear typically. But you don't have to vote according to party lines. Just get registered or affiliated, even if it's with a party. Okay. With that, let's head into Q&A, and I thank you again for your time. We're going to open up the mics.